blacks being on code. Uh, there are some blacks in America who have inappropriate behavior. They don't understand what's being on code. And maybe they was taught some of it in our culture, African American culture, but due to the phenomenon of drug epidemic, the crime waves or crime epidemic in the black community due to systemic racism and being locked out of finances and crimes being the norm in the black community, the blacks, Americans start getting off code. So what it means to be on code. Even in the religion of Islam, there are ethics, a code of ethics in Islam. Muslims dealing with Muslims, Muslims dealing with certain situations, and dealing with non-Muslims. We have in the religion of Islam codes. We might call it etiquettes, or manners, or akhlaq, or khulq. In the black community, we have adopted a way of being off code, and I mentioned why and where it comes from. Another part of being off code is also from self-hate, and self-hate leads blacks to fight and to do things that does not help us as a race of people. So we have a lot of blacks who are off code, and some of that also was promoted through the music genre and the movies and the entertainment genre that talks and shows from the negative experience of people who are off code. Basically, we took criminal elements and we made entertainment out of it. And that's how some of the off codes in the black community where it extends from or who is promoting it. Now I want to talk about being on code. And I want to show you in our country, there are other people's societies, institutions that have codes. And I want to talk about that. Police have codes. Police have code of ethics and codes. So law enforcement have codes. Courtrooms have codes. Judges have codes. Family court has codes. Criminal court have codes. Civil court has codes. Everywhere you look, there's codes of ethics. Doctors have a code of ethics. Everywhere we could look in the society, we can see people, institutions are practicing codes. Everywhere there's codes. In some cases, some of their codes or their ethics are titled as codes of ethics. And you can see it in law. You can see in the legal system and jurisprudence that lawyers practice. There's a code of ethics in the courtroom, in the courthouse. When you enter the bench or before you enter the bench, there's a code of ethics. They even speak on code. When you hear legal terms, that's speaking on codes. The doctors have codes of ethics that they use related to procedures, how to deal with the patient, what to do and what not to do. All these are a code of ethics. We see it everywhere. Teachers have a code of ethics in school. The principal in the school have a code of ethics that he or she follows. Everywhere we can see in the society, there is a code of ethics. Everywhere. For those who don't know, can't see. Those who from the dumb, the deaf, and the blind can't see. Everywhere in society is a code of ethics. The plumber He has a code of ethics. There's a code he understands. You ever see a licensed plumber or a licensed electrician? Ask them what are some of the codes they have in their trade. Everywhere we look, there's a code. They have codes. Whether these codes are numbers that mean certain rules or policies, but there are codes. The government have a code. Everywhere we look in society, even the government in the United States, and governments have codes. Chinese have code of ethics. For example, you go to Chinatown in any country, in anywhere in the US, you go to Chinatown, you notice you never see non-Chinese have business in Chinatown. That's a code. Chinese are on code. They'll buy certain products only from other Asians. Chinese are on code. When you go in a black neighborhood and you see Chinese or Asians have business in the black neighborhood, and you notice that they don't hire black people, they are on code. When you notice in the black community, when people who are not from the black community have a business like Arabs, when they go in the black neighborhood, you notice only Arabs are working in the Arab business. That's them being on code. Every society have a code of ethics, no matter where you go, no matter where you look, whether it's from cultural or it's from an institution. They are on codes. U.S. government have codes. What do you think the Constitution means? And even the Constitution, there is the outwardness of the Constitution, which is a code, and then there's a white supremacist understanding of the Constitution, a social understanding of the how to implement the code of ethics, or the code considered to be the U.S. Constitution. There's a white interpretation of it. There's a white supremacist interpretation of it. That's in the social fabric of America. That's a code. That's white people being on code. For example, when white people decide in America to build America financial institution, you notice they did not enslave Europeans. That's being on code. They did not enslave Europeans. They enslaved black Africans. Why didn't they enslave Europeans? Because they being on code. And part of their code, they understand as the white race to be advanced, they can't oppress other Europeans or enslave other Europeans. That's called being on code. Even to the Constitution of America, when it was written, it's a code of law for Europeans. And that's why black people who have been enslaved in the United States for hundreds of years, a white person from Europe to come to America and can reap all the white privilege and benefits despite black people being here longer than them, because the law's Constitution is on code and it was made for Europeans and the European diaspora. So that's why Donald Trump, whose father is an immigrant, have more power and say so in America over another black person whose ancestors built this country were enslaved. The Constitution is the white European code, the white diaspora European code of ethics in America, how to deal and to work with other Europeans and how to deal with non-Europeans. And I'm not talking about, hey man, just doing business with black people. That's only a cosmetic or outward looking of codes. We need to have a code of ethics related to business, related to marriage, related to how to live with your neighbors, another black person. We need to have a code of ethics. How to do business, how to live, and how to conquer. We need to have a code of ethics. We're not going to go far in this country or any other society if we don't have a code of ethics.